Hey guys, welcome to The Life with Andrew. So one thing that you'll learn about me as I hopefully continue to keep doing these videos is I am currently a wedding and portrait photographer in Northeast Ohio. But prior to that, I was actually working as an engineer. I went to the University of Akron for engineering, and then actually while I was in college, I decided to pick up photography as a hobby. I'd always been asking for cameras for, Christmas, and I always loved taking photos when I was out and about with friends and family, so I just thought it was like a logical hobby to pick up in college. And from that, I had, friends reach out to see if I could shoot their weddings, do portraits for them, and then it just naturally went to, me photographing weddings and portraits. I continued to do photography. I graduated with my degree, and then I found a job as a full-time engineer. But I continued to keep doing weddings and portraits until I got to a point where I decided I no longer wanted to be in my engineering job, and I quit to do photography full-time. Now, it wasn't the most well thought out transition. I was actually very unhappy in my job, so I ended up saving up some money and then ended up just putting in my 2 weeks notice and going full-time photographer. So there were some things that I did and things that I wish I would have done differently throughout that transition, and this is why I'm making this video. So if you are also a photographer thinking about making the jump or the transition from your full-time 9 to 5 or whatever it may be to full-time photographer, this is definitely for you. And as we go through this video, you might be like, well, duh, like that's obviously something that you should do. But I don't know, hopefully some of this will help you out. So the first thing that I want to touch on is definitely make sure that you have a solid client pipeline for the future. There's nothing worse than not having anything on the books for like a year or two out and then not knowing when the income is coming through. Like that's the worst part of being a small business owner, especially a photographer, is not knowing when that income is coming in. There are ebb and flows throughout the business. No matter what you're shooting or where you're at in the market, there are definitely going to be ebbs and flow when it comes to business and your income. So definitely before you make the transition, make sure that you have sessions, weddings, whatever it may be lined up in the future where you know that income is coming in. The second thing I want to talk about is make sure you have a plan for transitioning. So the biggest thing, obviously, is finances. You want to make sure that you know your expenses like the back of your hand. That goes for personal and business. So know what is coming in. I know that's hard to do because it, like I said, it ebbs and flows, but know what's coming into your business and what's going out of it. And then also know what you need to spend monthly for your personal expenses, your living costs, food, clothing, all of that good stuff. So what I would suggest is adding up and figuring out all of your expenses for the month, and then even just adding in a buffer. So, maybe add in an extra like $1,000 per month. So that way you have some leeway and you're maybe a little less stressed. But then also know what you're spending per month on your business. I think a lot of photographers just, they use their credit card or their, business debit card like, oh, I'll just expense this and I'll just expense this. But I mean, in my opinion, and you might do it differently, but in my opinion, like all of that money that is coming into my business, I want it to come to me personally. Like I want to be able to operate my business with like the minimum amount possible of expenses. Then what's left over is it goes to me, and that goes towards my bills or goes towards savings and everything. So that's the way I look at how I want to run my business. I try to expense as little as possible so that way I can claim the rest as income for myself. One book that I highly suggest reading if you're a business owner, especially a photographer, is Profit First. I can't remember who the author is, but I'm sure look it up on Amazon and you'll be able to find it in no time at all. That book definitely made me run my business more efficient and better, and it worked for me. So definitely check it out, and hopefully it'll give you a little insight. The next thing that I want to talk about is treating your business like a business and less of a hobby. It is easy to treat your business as a hobby when you are working a 9 to 5. It's just extra money that's coming in, and you're just like, yeah, like whatever I get is great. But if you're thinking about making the transition over to be a full-time business, you absolutely need to start thinking about it as a business and less of a hobby. And for example, when I quit my engineering job, I went from having a very structured like 9 to 5 schedule and then go home and maybe work out or, work on my business some more, to all of a sudden I didn't have that 9 to 5 anymore and I lost all structure. And it took me a long time to actually get some structure. And sometimes I still struggle with it. And it takes a lot of discipline to, decide, okay, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. is when I'm going to work on these things. And then maybe in the afternoon you have another time block. You absolutely need to incorporate some sort of structure within your business. I think it's just going to help you stay on track and hit whatever goals you might have for your business and for your personal life as well. Another thing I want to say is make sure that you have like really good systems in place. So client management software goes a long way. It helps me all the time, like keep track of stuff. Rather than trying to go through a bunch of emails and figure out where I was at with different clients, having a set client management system is a great way to, run your business. And then just workflows in general for all your other things that you're doing in your business, whether or not you're writing like blog posts or just your editing, definitely come up with like a really strong system for everything that you do within your business. It just goes a long way into, like I said, treating your business like a business and less of a hobby. The last thing that I want to touch on is you need to prepare yourself mentally for the transition. You are going from having a stable income, as I mentioned before, to not knowing exactly when the inquiries are going to come through, when bookings are going to be really, really good or really, really bad. So it is absolutely not as stable as a 9 to 5 would be. And I think it just takes a lot of strength and courage to make this transition, and you absolutely need to prepare yourself mentally for it. You need to be willing to adapt at any time. Google, Instagram, they might all change their algorithms, so SEO might be different, one day than the next. Instagram might be, and they have over the years, like they have, preferred carousels and reels over just single posts. And when you're in this business for as long as I have, Instagram was at its beginning when I started my business, and it was only photos. So I became very complacent in just posting photos. And you absolutely need to learn how to adapt to all of the changes around you, whether that be social media, SEO. Like I said, you need to be willing to learn and adapt and grow. And it's going to be uncomfortable, but if you want your business to work and stay sustainable, it is a necessity. And another great thing to do mentally, and I actually just started doing this more frequently in the last few months, my therapist told me I needed to try it and thought it would really help me out, is, I meditate and I try to journal and I try to do whatever I can to, stay in a good mental space, because it can get very dark and hard sometimes with this business. And by staying grounded in habits, whether it be working out or meditating, all of those things can help you stay strong, so that way you are able to push through whatever may be happening in the market, locally, whatever it might be. Life changes. Having those things will help you through all of it. Even just surrounding yourself with other photographers in the community. Again, if the market's changing, I'm absolutely guarantee it's changing for everyone else too. So just having those people to lean on for support, whatever it may be, is essential and highly recommended. All right, guys, so I really hope this gave you some sort of perspective. Again, like I didn't do anything perfectly throughout my transition. It is actually a way that I would suggest you not to do. So hopefully what I've learned over the years, you have gained a little bit of knowledge, and if not, congrats, you are on a great path to success. But until next time, guys, thanks for listening. See you soon.